Hey, quick shout out to the small businesses that are helping us share these inspiring stories. Blackhawk Bank and Trust. This locally owned and operated bank has 18 neighborhood branches and they give back year-round. They're a solid company since 1961. And Weber Auto Group in Silvis, Illinois, a family-run business 4 generations now, with a big expansion project happening to better serve you. And Peterson Plumbing and Heating, a family-run business committed to great service and community. They've been supporting our work for the past 2 years now.
The guys that Tegan has grown up watching and idolizing, now we're out there with them, and that's really cool.
This is the most fun I've ever had, racing against the best of the best.
A father and daughter racing team, taking their dream to a whole new level and not slowing down for anyone.
I don't like talking about how I'm a girl in a male-dominant sport, but I mean, it needs to be talked about. Like, you kind of have a target on your back. People think that they can just push you around, or you're not going to do as well because of your gender. Somebody's got to do it.
Working together to win, compete, and grow in the sport they love as they take us to the heart of their story. We first met Tegan when she was 16. Now, nearly 18, a lot has changed. Father and daughter used to drive around just during the summers. Now, it's about year-round.
I wake up, I go to school, I go to work, I do my homework, and then I come home and I work on the car. And it's a lot of pressure to get that stuff done in time and make sure I do it right, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Tegan Evans started racing in a go-kart, and her cars and competition have just been getting bigger ever since.
Yeah, I started go-karts when I was 10 years old, I want to say, yeah, and did that for a couple years, did the modified, and now we're on the late model. I mean, he was saying that it seems like it's been 17 years, but I feel like it's flew by. I mean, I remember when I won my first go-kart race, like, that seems like it was just yesterday.
Do you remember the feeling that you got when you won that first race?
Yeah, I think I ended up crying afterwards, just because, like, the adrenaline, and it actually was the first race, my first race ever, sitting in a car ever. I went out and I won.
That adrenaline fueled a passion for competition. For years, focusing on local dirt tracks with occasional trips to other cities. Now she has grown as a driver, and so has her cars.
We went from the modified to the late model. Basically, the cars have fenders now, they have full noses, so they're wider, they're a little bit bigger. And then my motor got bigger. You went from a 4-cylinder to 604 crate, so there's a big horsepower jump there. And then we went from the 604 crate late model to the super late model, and all that really changed there was the motor. Went from about 500 horse to about 800 horsepower now, or 450 to about 750 horsepower now.
More power, bigger stages means bigger stakes. She likes the added pressure, but for her dad Darren, her mechanic, pit crew, and just about everything else, he feels the pressure too to make sure his limits don't limit her.
I'm a little more nervous just because I don't want to let her down. Wrenching on these cars isn't easy, and knowing what changes to make throughout the night isn't easy, and the timing of making them changes is pretty difficult. So it's getting to be a little more nerve-wracking, or a little more, anxious. Did I make the right changes and that kind of stuff? But the excitement is a lot higher, just because of what we're doing now and who we're racing against. The guys that Tegan has grown up watching and idolizing, now we're out there with them, and that's really cool.
There's Tanner English, Jason Feger, Brian Shirley, Bobby Pierce, Taylor Scheffler, Logan Roberson showed up, so there's a lot of big names.
And let's talk about that for a minute, because last year you raced in IMCA. This year you decided to race against some of the biggest names in the country. Do you get nervous?
I did at first, like when we first started this year, but although it is intimidating, like when you go up to the driver's meeting and you're standing next to like the best of the best. It doesn't really make me nervous anymore. I actually think it makes me better. I would never go back to what we were doing. I mean, I'm still not racing against, or I would say I'm still not competing against them on their level, but still to just show up and be with them, or go to a driver's meeting and I've got Jason Feger on this side and Brian Shirley on this side. Like, it's so much fun, and to be able to come in and say, you know, I qualified 5th over these drivers is just, it's a new type of excitement. I love it.
She is out there, literally with the big boys, and no longer concerned about being in a male-dominated sport. In fact, eager to show them she is ready to compete and stand her ground.
There has been times where I go out there and I'm like, I'm gonna let them know I'm here. Like, they're gonna know that Tegan's next to them, and I only do it if there's a right reason. You know, if they tapped me first, then they're gonna get it back. If I got a door slam from them, they're gonna get it back. But I used to be really bad at that stuff, and I would just let them do it to me, and I wouldn't do it back. And so, like, it was every weekend there was a target on my back, and it was like, just get Tegan, get Tegan, get Tegan, because I wouldn't do anything about it. But there's been quite a few nights now where I just shove them into the wall a little bit, give them a little door slam, you know, just let them know you're there.
Kind of like standing up against the bully at school.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't like talking about how I'm a girl in a male-dominant sport, but I mean, it needs to be talked about. Like, you kind of have a target on your back. People think that they can just push you around, or, you know, you're not going to do as well because of your gender, you know. So I think I actually enjoy, you know, it's surprising them or standing up to them, as you said, because somebody's got to do it.
But her true focus is on improving as a driver, learning, growing, competing.
I was here 4 years ago in the crate car. We came to the Fall 50 and ran with the Supers.
How is it now with a little more horsepower under your foot?
It's different. It's definitely a steering track. It's crazy from going to something that's teeny tiny to something that's a lot bigger, but the car handles a lot better, I think, with horsepower.
And you got enough horsepower?
No, not even close.
How did qualifying go?
Got the door, maybe the nose digging it a little bit, so that slowed us down, but I found some driver errors going into 3 and 4 that I thought I fixed in qualifying, so I think maybe we got a little bit too much droop in the car, so we'll fix it and see what we do in the heat race.
All right, give them help.
So together, they just keep working, coming so close to their first feature win.
Qualified good. I think we qualified 3rd fastest out of like 15 or so cars, so started off the night pretty good. And then we go out there, I think we started 4th in the heat, and me and the track champion are battling for 2nd. I mean, I heard it was a pretty good race, you know, I'm just in there trying to drive, but we're going after it, and he ended up getting 2nd and I got 3rd, but that meant a lot to me to be able to run with him, you know. So we started pole of the feature, and we're thinking, you know, this is it, like this could be our feature win. And then we go out there and motor's running hot, and we ended up blowing it up.
Sponsors stepped in to get the motor fixed and keep them going. But off the track, the sport has dangers too. Even home in the garage, where Darren was about to make a mistake that would change everything.
I made a foolish judgment error, and my arm got crushed in the chassis of the car, and my arm was pinned for, I don't know, a minute or two, and I don't remember much of what happened, but I just remember at one point just panicking that I was going to lose my arm.
I heard him scream, and I was out here, I think washing tires or something like that, and so I come in here, he's like, get it off, get it off, get it off, and I couldn't really tell what was going on. It was all pretty crazy. I couldn't tell if, you know, it was pushing his arm up or if something was stuck in his arm, and so I didn't really know what to do. So, you know, I'm trying to pick up the rear end and, you know, get his arm out and wiggle it, and he's like, that's not working, and he's freaking out.
It was pinned kind of above my head, and it was crushed in 3 places, and then a bolt went through my arm and was inside my arm, and I didn't know that at the time. And fortunately, Tegan was a quick thinker and was able to get my arm out. So when my arm was freed, it was still stuck there, and I grabbed my hand just to pull it, and then realized there was a big hole. And but I couldn't see my arm at the time because I had a sweatshirt on, because it was early May. But when I got to the ER and they cut my sleeve off, that's when I saw it, and it was pretty gruesome.
Bleeding heavily, rushed to the hospital.
The ER doctor then said he's going to call in the surgeon, and my first thought was they're going to take my arm at the elbow, because it was pretty weird looking, and it was flat like a noodle and lumpy, and it was pretty messed up.
Did you have a concern, you know, now this thing you love, this passion that you love of racing, versus also providing for your family in a job that requires you to have your arms? Did that come to mind for you?
Absolutely. We moved in this new home a year ago, and your first thought is, you don't want to lose that. We built this new car with this big motor, and you don't want her to not get seat time, because if she doesn't get seat time, then she's not going to get any better. Fortunately, I had insurance that was able to pay my bills while I was off.
Recovery, trying his best to keep her season going with one arm.
A few times I would try to even just take a wheel off with one arm, and Tegan would say, "Geez, Dad, we can get it," or just get out of the way, good, because I just like to be hands-on.
They would soon take a break for a whole new reason. Remember, she's still in high school.
I view homecoming and homecoming week as like my 1 week to be a kid. Like I have like a couple hours a night to go hang out with my friends and stuff like that, but never just like a whole Saturday. Like I can't remember the last Saturday where I just went and did whatever I want. So I view homecoming as just like my one day to just be a kid with my friends.
So you got all dressed up, got your hair done, your nails done, you picked the perfect dress. You still prefer a racing suit over a dress?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I get home, that dress is off, nails are off, hair's down.
So I just have to ask the next question, mostly for fun.
So your dad, you don't think he has you racing to keep you away from dating guys or something, does it? Do you?
No, actually, I'm surprised how well like he's handling it, because I've brought boys around before and he's pretty cool about it, or we'll like joke about like this boy at the races or this boy at the races, and he's pretty cool about it all.
So what do boys that you meet outside of racing say when you tell them, I'm a race car driver?
They don't believe me, or they think I drive something slower than what I do.
So much so, she got the attention of a NASCAR team and was soon off to meet them.
And so when we first got the call, I was kind of like, nah, like I don't want to drive an asphalt car, like that's not really my thing. I'll just stick to dirt, like NASCAR's not going anywhere anyway. But then we get down there, we meet the people, and they are the nicest people I've ever met. And the asphalt cars are the coolest cars like I've ever seen. I got to sit in them, I got to learn about them, and then you get to learn about NASCAR history, and you realize that like it's a really neat form of racing.
Would she be interested in driving on asphalt? The family had a big decision to make on whether she would move to North Carolina by herself for training and a shot at driving. It's a subject that brings out a different side of her, the thought of moving forward without her dad.
The whole 7 years has been me and my dad, and so we had a little emotional moment, I'm not gonna lie, where I kind of got upset at the fact that I would be doing this without him, and I've never done that before. And but then we kind of talked about it, and one day this is going to be my operation and he's not going to be part of it anymore. So then I kind of got over it and realized that it's bound to happen at some point, so.
What do you think of this gift, if you will, that he's sort of given you from father to daughter?
It's something that it's hard to talk about and it's hard to describe just because it makes me kind of emotional, but I didn't think, like I knew growing up that me and my dad were gonna have a strong bond just because I liked the same music and I was into cars and stuff like that, but I didn't think it would go this far to where my dad is giving me boy advice. I'm sorry. I mean, like he said, I spend every waking moment with this man, and sometimes I just wanna, do my own thing and not be with him, but I wouldn't trade our bond for anything.
While open to explore, she is staying on the dirt track for now and staying with her team for the love of the sport and this unique bonding experience.
The love for doing this together, the bond that you create with your daughter with this, the joy of hearing that car running at a level and seeing that look on her face that says, wow, we got something kind of cool here.
I like a challenge. I love to try to figure out things. So with that, and then it's my daughter in the car who has a raw talent to drive a race car. It's, some people drink alcohol, some people for a buzz or for whatever. I don't touch alcohol. I've never done a drug in my life. And I tell everybody that is what this is to me.
So for now, you're taking it race by race and kind of having fun just on your journey that you are now.
Yeah, just seeing what opportunities arise and just getting better at every race. I don't think I'll ever officially stop. Whether I'm driving or working on a car or going to the races and helping somebody out, I really don't think I'll ever stop. And I really hope that my grandkids would be into racing. They don't have to be, but I really wish that, or hope that my kids would carry this on and we wouldn't have just my stories to tell, but theirs as well.
It's part of your life.
Subscribe, share with a friend, help us keep growing. Telling more positive, inspiring stories of everyday people doing cool stuff. This is The Heart of the Story with Gary Metivier.